Hey fellow fishing fanatics, so you're in the market for a new reel. Well, good news, I've been testing two reels that Academy sent me. One is their Mettle Spinning reel and the other is their EVO Baitcasting reel. I really liked both of them, but I don't think they're for everybody. And there's some things that I don't like about each of them, and that's what we're gonna dive to in next, is the pros and cons of the spinning reel and this baitcaster reel by H20X. My name's Wesley Littlefield with Anglers.com, and I've been testing out these two reels for a couple months now, and overall I'm pretty impressed. But like I mentioned in the intro, there's a few things that I could see improvement and wish that there was a little bit of improvement on, and so that's what we're gonna dive into today. We're gonna start with the spinning reel. This spinning reel, for the price, it's pretty good. It's not a high dollar spinning reel by any means. I honestly consider it a entry-level spinning reel price at like 40 bucks. So price-wise, it's perfectly fine. Casting, it casts great, so that's a pro. You know, reeling, it reels pretty smooth, that's a pro, and it holds plenty of line. I could never outcast the line. The drag on it was a little bit wanky, but I figured it out, dialed it in, and now I think it's set pretty good. I think I missed one fish because I didn't have that drag set in. So that's on me. I can't blame that on the reel. It's pretty light, you know, as far as for casting all day, I can handle it just fine. Now, my wife does not like a big, heavy, bulky reel like this just because she gets tired of casting it. So I do think that, you know, if you just go fishing for a little while, it's gonna be perfectly fine. Now, if you're gonna cast all day, some people, especially those that aren't used to fishing all day, you might get a little tired with it. But I really like this handle. It's not a cork handle, it's the EVA foam, so you're not gonna have to worry about it chipping real bad. It's gonna be pretty durable. I was honestly kind of surprised to see that on such an inexpensive reel. I expected this handle to be cork, so that was a real big pro. You can tell that, you know, they thought about that a little bit more than usual. Now, onto the cons that I just wasn't all that impressed with. And honestly, the main thing was that this one just had a funny sound whenever I reeled it in at all. Now, I think it's just the bearings going up and down, back and forth. So just putting a little bit of WD-40 on the grease, I think would solve that problem. And it could honestly just be this reel. It might not be all other reels, I don't know. But I was not using big lures and it was still kind of whining and sounding like it's dragging. I mean, as you can tell today, I was throwing a little bitty Meps here. And the other day I was even throwing a Ned rig with a crawl. And even when I'd reel it in real fast, you could hear it kind of wind up a little bit. So I'm not sure what that's all about. I haven't explored it a whole lot, but it doesn't affect my fishing. I mean, I've reeled in fish, caught fish, so it's not like it doesn't work. It's just kind of annoying in my opinion. But for the price, I mean, it's under 50 bucks, so it's hard to beat. The next reel is the EVO Baitcasting reel, and I was blown away by this reel. No lie at all. I absolutely do love this reel. The one I got is a 8-to-1 gear ratio. They have a 7-to-1 option as well, but that's it. They don't have anything higher or lower. You've got 2 gear ratio options, and I would honestly like to see like a 8-to-1 or a 9-to-1 and then like a 6-to-1, not like 7 and 8 right beside each other, because there's not a whole lot of difference in those two. But like I said, I love it other than that. It casts great. What blew me away the most is the fact that I could cast into the wind and I got minimal backlash, and I was casting hard into the wind, you know, trying to make it backlash at times. Now I would stop it, so I guess I wasn't trying to, but I really didn't have to think about it, where I know with some of my other reels I'd cast it and I'd have a backlash in that time. It was blowing 15, 20, 30 mile an hour gusts, and I was still able to have very minimal backlash. You know, you click it, pull out a little bit and get to fishing again, and I was just blown away by that, of no backlashing. Now the reason I wasn't backlashing is because of their brake system, which I really like, except that you can't adjust it. So whatever it's set to, that's what it's set on. Now, I did notice that I could still cast plenty far, you know, farther than a lot of my other reels actually. So whatever they did with their brake system, it worked. I really like that about it. It's a super smooth reel, reeling it in, and I really like the reel handle. Number one, it's got like a carbon fiber handle part, and then the EVA foam grips. I'm not a cork fan at all. And so when you put these foam grips on here, you just make me a happy camper. So I'm a sucker for the foam grips. Not to mention, it just looks sweet. The blue and the black goes well together. This whole rod and reel right here is an awesome setup for what I'm gonna do some jig fishing with. But honestly, it was hard to find too many things that I just didn't like about this reel. Now the bait casting reel, as per usual, most bait casting reels, it's more expensive. This is their higher end model at $100. Now, I still think it's very affordable, especially compared to a lot of other bait casters. So I would put this in like the intermediate range though. But if you were to buy this rod and reel right here in my hands, it'd be 200 bucks. So that's not crazy expensive, but I also don't think it's a beginner friendly price. So if it's not for beginners, it is for intermediates. Who else is it for? Both of these rod and reels, I think intermediate and even advanced anglers will have no problems using and will get a lot out of them. However, if you're a saltwater angler, do not buy either one of these reels. They're not intended for saltwater use. They'll corrode and you'll be super unhappy and just waste your money. So if you're a freshwater only angler, I'd highly recommend this one a lot more than the spinning reel. And if you're wondering where you can buy these at, there's links down in the description below that you can click on, and we get a little bit of a commission kickback from that at no extra cost to you, and we really appreciate you supporting the channel in that way. And now that you've got your reel figured out, it's time to learn about these rods. I've got a video down below me talking about the H20X rods, this bait casting rod and the spinning rod. So I will see you in that video. And until then, I want you to always remember that education is important, but fishing is essential.